Hey everyone, welcome to this video on tangling Icanthis. Icanthis is one that I learnt from, I think it was Molly in one of the project packs. The way she explained how to draw it was really simple and something that I found really easy. So I thought I'd just share that with you today. So you're starting off with your pencil and drawing an orb as your string. Mine was a little bit small, so the next step is to ink in that circle. Mine was a bit small, so I've just made my circle slightly bigger than my string line. You can judge that for yourself as it fits onto your tile. You want some space to be able to tangle on the inside of the orb. Next step is to work your way around and draw some curved branches. As you're drawing, just lift the pressure on your pen slightly so you will kind of get this lightening of your pen stroke, like a slight point, as you might have been able to see then. You probably will fit around 6 or 7 around your orb, depending on the size of your original string and the size of your tile. Once you've done this, you add a little gumnut hat to each of the branches, or if you're not from Australia, you might call it an acorn hat. So work your way around and do one of those on all of the branches. And then we are going to add like a V-shaped aura in all of the intersections between the orbs and the branches. Kind of like a tick almost. Again, I just lift my pen so that the pen stroke thins and lightens as I go. This is exactly the same steps you would use as if you did an Icanthis in a straight line. This one is designed to look like a wreath. So then you join the ends of your V's to the ends of your gum nuts. You can either have a nice strong coffee or imagine you have, and just let your pen wander around. If you want some fatter leaves, you just move the initial V's that you've drawn a bit further away from the branch lines and the original orb line. On the inside of the orb, you can either just add a wiggly line, or if you like, you can add some more little tiny short branches around in between the ones that you've already got there. I think I skipped one there, but that's fine. And then again, just wiggle and jiggle your line all the way around. And that's basically your Icanthis. The next step is to add some rounding and weighting. In this case, I'm using an 01 pen. I just find this easier for doing this step. It just makes it easier to keep it looking a bit tidy, I guess, and for that really fine detail. Sometimes the amount of weighting or rounding you might want to add is really tiny, but it does make a whole heap of difference. I'm actually really enjoying varying my pen thickness in my tangling these days. It does lend itself to adding more detail, and just because with a thick pen it's easier to vary your line pressure, and then the thin pen you can add these little fine details which really lift your tangle. So you just keep working your way around, adding glove as you go. wherever you think it needs it. Add a little bit of rounding in the bottom of all of those little V's as well. You can also add a bit of rounding where the little branches intersect with the original orb line. That's entirely up to you. You can see the difference that just adding all that little bit of extra ink makes to the tangle now. It just, yeah, it sets it into the page and gives it some interest. Okay. Now it comes to the shading. When I shade a tangle like this, I like to put a heavy blob of graphite into all the little indents and crevices rather than just adding a line of graphite around the whole line. So you can see I'm doing that. I'm just working my way around the inside and now the outside, and I'm not being precise about it. I'm just whacking some graphite down. I'm using a Zentangle pencil here, but I often like to use a 3B graphite pencil for this as well. Just it's a little bit darker than the Zentangle pencil. Okay, then I use my tortillon to actually move that graphite around, and I follow the line of the tangle then, and it gives you some gradation in the shading. So it's deeper in the crevices where it would naturally be deeper, and then it lightens up around the rest of it. You can go back and add a little bit more in the crevices after you've done that if you feel like it needs it. That will lift the tangle off the page quite nicely for you as well. Really gives it some dimension. Just finishing off the inside now. Often if I do that first and then I might go around and catch the edge of the shade again and just kind of do some circles over it just to soften that line and blend it out. So shading, I often work back and forth over it. I'm adding some shading to the inside of my Icanthis now, just with what I have left on my tortillon. This is mainly because my string line was a little bit smaller than I wanted, so I am just now blending that in so that it disappears into the tangle. If you're working in a white tile, you might want to put some shading along the branches and then one side of the branches, and then you might be done. In this case, I'm working on a tan tile, so I'm going to add some highlights as well. So just along the edges and all the bits that stick out. Again, it's similar to my shading, it's just in reverse. Instead of going into the dips, I'm going into the bits that are sticking out and adding blobs of the chalk pencil. Icanthis is a lovely one to do on a coloured tile, and taking the opportunity to do some highlights. I'm just cleaning my tortillon. Yeah, I have a plastic container that I use for sharpening, and it's got sandpaper in the lid if I need to. Sometimes my white tortillon picks up bits of graphite on it and just needs a bit of a clean down. So then again, just use your tortillon to soften that slightly. You don't need to move that as much. as you do with the graphite. So if you want more of your chalk, you're probably going to need to add more. It disappears into the paper if you move it around too much. Okay, adding a bit of graphite into all those little corners of the, must work out what to call those little branch lines. Sometimes I like to go back and forward between my shading and my highlights just to see how they're working together, rather than doing all of one and doing all of the other. And I've just pulled that along all the branches. Then go back and add some more highlights, the same as I did on the inside, and adding some highlights along the other side of those branch lines. Then soften those as well. That's pretty much all of it. If you want to, I'm going to stop this video here, and if you want to, you can add more tangles to your tile. I'm going to show you how mine finished up in a bit, or you can just leave it as it is. So here's the original one. I've just added a border that I've shaded, and here's another one that I did where I've added some tangles. Happy tangling. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help. I'd love to see what you've done. Please tag me on Facebook or Instagram. Thanks.